Scott, you've been in your role as the local development officer in South East Scotland now for nearly 2 years, and the project over that time has more than met the expectations. And clearly you've been a key contributor to that success. And what do you think has made it so successful?
I think what has really contributed to the success of the project have been a couple of key things in the setup of the project. For example, it was thought out well, it had clear objectives and targets linked clearly to those objectives. That said, there have been a couple of objectives that had to get reconsidered. For example, we had objectives in there about Scout Network, but then our lead volunteer on Scout Network changed, and that meant we had to delay things. We've also had a revision of districts after a boundary review, and so that meant that the number of groups maybe needed to change that we were aiming for, as well as we realised the importance of starting up a new section as part of an existing group, even though it might be quite far away, what we maybe call a satellite section. And so that meant rather than just starting up a new group, we've thought about starting up a new section. But also, we've had really good conditions, and what I mean by that is that we had a good buy-in from the local volunteers, from local groups, right up through the districts. It wasn't felt like this was a top-down approach, and I think that created the right conditions, as well as having a solid team at the regional level, a number of really solid district commissioners and teams able to take on development and move things forward. So there was a lot of people getting the idea of what development was about and how to go about doing good development. So there was good conditions. And in addition to all that, I've really benefited from a real feeling of partnership with people in region and districts, but also with other agencies and local authorities, and also the local development officers across the UK. We meet up twice a year, and it's been great that the region's invested the money and time to enable me to get down to Gilwell for those meetings, and seen that as a real importance. I've really appreciated that input.
That's great. It certainly has been successful, and a lot of very positive work has gone on. And how do you feel about the personal support that you have received in the time you've been working with the project?
Well, the region does have experience of employing staff, of which I have benefited from that. In addition, the region has recently went through a bit of change, and part of that change has been that a new staff handbook has been introduced, so everyone's singing from the same song sheet, and that's been really helpful just to get our bearings, and for example, we know how appraisals will be done and what to expect, and there's quite a structured process for that appraisal. I recently went through that, and it's been helpful to identify, for example, training needs. And one of those training needs was about understanding outcomes and objectives a bit better. So I've been on a course for that, and I'm going on another course soon on actually measuring outcomes. But I've also done some in-house training through the Scout training on facilitating and presenting, because that's quite often a part of my role. But we've also identified that another training idea might be work shadowing, going to see other projects and meeting up with other LDOs to learn from them and benefit from their experience. I think in addition for personal support, just how things have been set up for me, the management arrangements have worked especially well. So I have a professional manager who's sitting across from me just now, and we work in the same office, as you know, and contact is then easy for us. We're able to speak, I'm able to get advice and help, as well as keep you up to date so you can keep others up to date. And it's great just being in the office and able to chat and encourage one another or share the frustrations when those come. The lead volunteer is also part of that management arrangement, and we meet up with Graham every 6 weeks, but I also am on the phone to him at least once a week. And it's great to just have that opportunity where we catch up, where we reflect and review and agree targets for the next wee while in the short and longer term.
I have to say it sounds very good, and I know that I appreciate having somebody else around to work with and share ideas, and I think that's been helpful to get a culture of development across the region. Now, I know that you also work in close partnership with a development project management group, which is known by the snappy title of DPMG. How does that group work, and what role does it play in the running of the project and the managing of the project?
Sure. Well, the DPMG membership reflects the topics that we're focusing on. So recently we've had a number of people from sections, because we were focusing on new sections starting up there. It's a uniform-led group, although there are representatives there from the regional executive, and the membership of that is changing to be strengthened because our focus is moving more towards GSL recruitment and harder to reach areas, so we're looking to bring in some more input from the district level as well. And the DPMG takes really an overview of the project, helps us look at from a range of different perspectives, each person bringing their own experience and particular skills and insights. And I think that's contributed to our success, because we've been challenged at times on where we're maybe going or what we've been achieving, as well as being able to give advice about issues from a very local perspective. The DPMG really ties us back into what is helpful at a grassroots level, and I think that has been key. It's not just some people who are very distant from it, who know very little about Scouting.
Thanks, Scott. That's really helpful, and I think it's also fair to say that one of the benefits of that group has been that it's helped to strengthen your links as a key member of the regional core team with the districts and indeed with groups through events that you've organised at supporting groups and districts through the development process. So, to sum up, based on your experience of the last, well, it's nearly 2 years, what would be your top 3 tips that you would pass on to a group of people within Scouting thinking of setting up a project? How should they move forward to get an effective management structure in place at the outset?
Sure. Well, my top 3 tips would, first of all, having clear targets and a work plan that are realistic and based on a declared local need. That has been crucial for us, and really helpful as a local development officers to know, right, where are we going, what are our priorities in years 1, 2, 3, how are we building on things, and there's real buy-in then from a local level because they've had that input. Second tip, ensuring there is clear and regular support for the LDO. I've benefited so much from that. It meant that I've not been isolated. It means that I get a lot from the job and I want to give a lot to the job, and we get a lot out of it. And I think the third thing for me is that idea of what's going on around the project, of investing in a culture of development by investing time in relationships and in speaking to people about development, of bringing people, and that really requires people not just within the project but also out with the project, really talking about development, communicating that and creating the right conditions from which to get into the project and really help it succeed.
Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for the work you've been doing and will continue to do to help grow Scouting in this region.